And who remembers where we left off on our cliffhanger yesterday? It's hard to forget. Two cliffhangers. One, the ultimate love, and two, what's going to happen to Rabbi Akiva as he was being taken out to be tortured. And who else was there? Papas? The students were also there. Excellent. And what were the students saying?
Why?
Students were saying, Rebbe, Ad Khan, enough is enough. You're literally having your skin raked off your bones by hot combs. It's too much. It's too much. And he's smiling. And he's smiling. And he's accepting upon himself Al Malchus Shemayim, the unity of God at that moment. And that's where we left off. So says the Gemara. First of all, look how good Gemara is. It's all in the Gemara, my friends. Once you really get into Gemara, all you want to do is learn Gemara Yoimam Valayla, day and night. Non-stop. I remember being one time with Itchy Meyer before Pesach. I was in his room, his inner chamber, and it was 2 days before Pesach, and I remember he had his talis on, his tefillin, and he was sitting with another yid who's very, very close to him, and who's a mega Talmud Chacham, and they were learning the entire Pesachim in one sitting, I think. All I know is it was just... And the Rebbe would the Talmud Chacham was reading, the tzaddik, and going through every single little point, and then Itchimar would come in to say, Pshat is like this, and okay, yeah. And I remember just watching them, the pace that they were learning, like Gemara pages like this. And that's pretty fast to go through Gemara pages. And I didn't stay for the whole time, but it appeared to me they were finishing the entire Pesachim just on the spot because Pesach's coming, just go through the entire Gemara. Right? Many people spend years on a few pages. And that's also a tremendous celebration. We love Gemara. We love the Gemara. Okay, that's my little plug for Gemara. So as we're back in the Gemara now, so Rabbi Akiva says back to his students, Amar lahem, Kol yomai hayisim mitzstar al pasuk zeh. My whole life, I was mitzstar. My whole life I had a challenge with the following verse. It might be familiar to you. Ve'ahavta eis Hashem Aleichem b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'aydecha. My whole life I was thinking about this verse, this pasuk that we've spent so much time on the last couple weeks. And I was thinking about the part of the verse which says that you should love God with all your soul. With all your soul. And I knew that the sages have a transmission, have a tradition, that all your soul means even if your soul is being taken. Even if it means, like we know, that a person has to give up their life for the Gimel Chamuros, the three severe transgressions, which are, of course, adultery, idol worship, and murder, which means, in Halacha L'maisa, practically, if somebody says, commit adultery or be killed, then a person would have to be killed. Or if it says, bow down to the idol, or be killed. Or kill that person, or be killed. Now you might say, well, what do you mean? But doesn't God want me to be alive? So here's the main point. Your love for God and your love to be connected to the will of God is greater than your physical life. And in these three areas, your love for God is greater, and to such a degree that my love for you is even more than my physical body. Okay, that's very, very important. So Rabbi Akiva said, my whole life, I was thinking about this verse. I was thinking about the verse that my love for God could get to such a degree that it could be expressed even more than my physical life. Now, by the way, the best thing to do, Rabbi Noach Weinberg used to always speak about, find out what you're willing to die for and then live for it. It's very, very important. Find out what you're willing to die for and then live for it. If a person doesn't know what they're willing to die for, their life is often quite shallow. Find out what are you willing to die for and then live for it. So for Rabbi Akiva, his whole life, he knew what he's willing to die for. And he was living for Hashem. But he said, I never actually got to that. Meaning, whether a person would be put in that position or not, we don't know. We hope not. But Rabbi Akiva said, I spent my whole life loving you, God, but now, God, that you're actually putting me in the position that I was taken for teaching Torah in public, and now I'm being tortured to death. And at that moment, I have coursing through my mind, I have coursing through my soul, Shalom. I have coursing through my mind, coursing through my soul, the opportunity to love God more than my body. I didn't think it was going to happen. But now that it is, I'm not going to be excited for this opportunity. You understand, this is somebody who spent literally the last 80 years of his life just purifying himself to such a degree that he was clear. And his students were not Amaratzim. We're talking about the students of Rabbi Akiva. These are great people. And they had a hard time appreciating that he could be in such a state of unification to God at that moment. Amarti. So I said in my heart, says Rabbi Akiva, Mosa Yovei Liyodi, when will this come? The opportunity of doing the mitzvah to give my life. V'kayemenu, and I can be able to achieve this. Meaning my whole life I'm thinking, I'm living for you, God, but when will the time come? B'chol nafshecha, afilu noitelis nafshecha, when will it come that I can even give my physical body for you, Hashem? That my love will be so much that even my physical body will be given for you. Now you might ask me, you might say, but wait a second, didn't you just say that you only have to give your physical body for the big three? What was Rabbi Akiva doing? He wasn't being asked to kill somebody, to do adultery, or to worship idols. He was killed for teaching Torah. So you should know we have another Jewish law, which is that in a time of shmad, in a time of war, in a time of destruction, a person may, even if he's being asked to stop doing even other mitzvahs, there's a space there also to give one's life. Because there so much is on the line. Okay? A lot of these questions came up in the Holocaust.
Rabbi, is that in just a time of physical war, if there's specifically like a decree against?
The decree, Shasa Shmad. And it was bad. And Rabbi Akiva was going with that. And therefore, he was teaching Torah. And he was not afraid to. And he brought the mashal for Papas Ben Yehuda, which was, like we said yesterday, and we're going to elaborate on this mashal a little bit maybe tomorrow, that in a place of our safety, i.e., the Torah is water. So the fish, remember the mashal, the fish are in the water, and the fox is telling him, come out of the water, you're safe with me. So if we stop learning Torah, are we going to be safer, or are we sitting ducks, or sitting fish? A fish out of water. Right? That, like they say, right? He's done. He's a fish out of water. And I'll tell you even more what Chazal say, just based on this medrash, based on this Gemara, that Chazal say that fish are in the water. And the water is the Torah. And for us, the Torah is life. Kiyem chayenu. So Rabbi Akiva said we have to keep teaching Torah, because if we leave the water, then we're done. So we have to stay in Torah. That's the greatest protection we have. So Chazal say, fish are interesting because even when they're in the water, as new drops of rain are falling into the ocean, the fish will jump up to catch a little drop as it's coming down. So the Chazal say, the sages ask, what's the fish doing? It's swimming in the water. What does it need, a new drop?
I've seen it before, it's crazy.
What is it that he's in the water? What's up with you, fish? You just exercise or something?
It's fresh water.
Even if they're in a lake, where it is fresh water. It's all fresh water.
It's like a revival of life.
Is that the fish wants a new drop, wants even more. So that's Klal Yisrael. Even if you're swimming in water, when there's new water, when there's more water, we want the Torah so badly. We'll even jump up, like, give me everything. We love the water. We need the water. So I'm going to stop teaching Torah. That Torah is our life. Ki hem chayenu v'oryach yameinu. So achshav shabol yadi lo yakemenu. Now that it came to my hands, I'm not going to achieve this. I'm not going to do this. So the Gemara goes on. What did Rabbi Akiva do at that moment? And this is really going to be the main secret to understanding our question of that ultimate love. Hayamarich be'echad. Rabbi Akiva started saying the verse, Shema Yisrael Hashem Aleichem Hashem Echad. And he extended Echad. And you know, it's a halacha, you're supposed to extend Echad. It's a halacha, you're supposed to make Echad long. How do you do that? So really, you're supposed to extend the dalid of Echad. The only thing about a dalid is is a letter that can't be extended. Because Echad, you can't go Echad.
Is it work to hold your breath kind of as you're saying the dalit or no?
So how would you do it?
You say the dalit and then you don't end it. You just
you emphasize the dalit.
But then it wouldn't be.
Meaning you don't make a new sound. You just try to prolong that.
But it's not. They're a word that a person is going to say, or echad. If you say dur, it doesn't sound like echad, it sounds like a acher, with a resh at the end, which is a problem. Because you don't want to be somebody who says, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu. Hashem, there's another one, don't even say it. It's spooky. It's actually spooky stuff. Spooky, I mean like totally idol worship, forbidden. Okay, that's what we call spooky. Forbidden idol worshipping behaviors are spooky. And God unity consciousness is beautiful. Is mamish beautiful. So some suggest, and the Teimanis and others say that there's different ways to pronounce a dalid. This is not a class in the halachas of Shema, but we're going to add some halacha as well. Is that the dalid could be pronounced like a thalid. There's different ways to pronounce a dalid. Some pronounce it like a th. So some say echad, a thalid, a thalid. Okay, there is such a thing. And therefore, you're going to hear different people doing different things when they pronounce echad.
What do you do?
So, I'll tell you what it says. That the Sfarim point out, when it means to extend echad, echad means one. But we say Hashem is not only one, He's echad yochid. Echad is one. Yochid is there's nothing else. Yochid is that's all there is. One sounds a bit like one, and then there's other stuff, like one in a sequence of numbers. I want to tell you the deepest Zoyar maybe that exists. If you appreciate the Zoyar, it's mind-blowing. And it's very simple. It's in Petach Eliyahu. Ant chad v'loi becheshbon. God, you are one, but not one in a sequence of numbers. Let me ask you a question. Is one a big number or a small number?
Big number.
Come on, you guys are so religious.
It depends.
How much do you have in your account? One. It doesn't sound so big to me.
One is actually larger than a different amount of numbers.
An infinite amount of numbers.
Yeah.
Or infinity amount of fractions, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
-1, -2, -3, all -50.
No,
You didn't say magnitude.
that's
You
zero.
said.
Let's hear. Come on. You want one in your bank account or?
I'd rather have one than negative infinity.
Depends whether one is
Oh, 100,000 years.
Or four.
One is a small number.
One seems to be a small number.
only in a sequence of numbers. Like we
But
said.
one's also a special number.
One is the most.
So one seems to be a small number.
It's so big,
And-
Rabbi.
One each figure
Think
or
about
tiny
it. Think about it. Like
Whenever-
one generates every other number. Two cannot generate every other number.
One is the
Only
lowliest
one
number.
can
Whenever-
generate every
One
other
seemingly one sounds like a very lowly.
number. You like that, right?
Yeah, it's very low. In a sequence of numbers, you know, you don't have to be a big chacham. Maybe nobody is in business. Like you'd rather have 2 apples than 1 apple in your basket. You'd rather have.
One bomb than 2 bombs.
You,
Being blown up in my face.
so if it's if it's negative, fine. I appreciate that.
What's the point? But you should compare it.
Compare what? First of all, this is great. This is called Torah Shabbat Peh. This is Leibedik. So 1 is a low number. In a sequence of numbers, 1 is low. But in the world of spirituality, when Echad becomes Yochid, i.e. 1 is the greatest, because 1 doesn't mean 1 in a sequence of numbers. 1 means 1 and nothing else.
The original copy.
1 becomes the biggest number because it excludes everything else. So when a person says Echad, in Chabad Hasidus, they speak this out quite a bit. What does it mean to be Marich be'Echad? It means to extend from the concept that God is one, so to speak, but there's a bunch of other stuff. There's me, there's, Shalom's soup, looks very nice. Well, now it's gone. Not so much anymore. And there's, these curtains, the stender. There's God, but there's a lot of other stuff. But there's only one God. Don't worry about that. You're going from 1 and you're extending 1, i.e. Echad, into Yochid, where there's nothing else. You and God are merging into 1. You're dissolving back into God. And you're aware of it. By the way, that's one of the reasons why that they say not to say Shema, too often, because if you really understand Shema, you start to disappear a bit from reality, because if you understand that there's nothing but God, that 1 is not 1 in a sequence, but 1 meaning 1 and nothing else, so the world starts melting away, and you get into a consciousness that there's nothing but God. So that's what the Sfarim explain, that you extend Echad. You go from Echad to Yachid. You go and you extend until you start disappearing. That's called Yichuda Ila'ah, that even the upper lights are all unified with Hashem. It's all one. Then, Baruch Shem, you come down and you bring that unity even down to this world. Which means not only up in the higher worlds, Hashem and His spheres are all one, but even down in this world, Hashem and the Shtender, it's all one. There's nothing but you, Hashem. Yes, Daniel.
So Shema brings you closer to nothing, or Shema brings you closer to Hashem?
Well, what? There's nothing. Is there such a thing as nothing?
No,
because to speak of something means you're speaking of something that exists.
Doesn't-
The concept of speaking of nothing is not a real concept.
Okay, I appreciate that. When we say that we're dissolving, you don't dissolve into nothing, you dissolve into the everything, the oneness, which is God.
Is that why we say, may my soul be like dust to all? Is that what you mean?
Well, there's an element there of being humble. That's more an element of humility. The idea, though, of giving myself and returning to source. This is really now answering the third level of love. That we explained a few days ago, that the first level of love was the attraction of opposites. Then we explained the attraction of similarities. But the Maharal explains in the Sivas Olam and Avos Hashem, in the first piece there, that the highest love and the most accurate when it comes to loving God is not a love that there's differences or similarities that I have to God. The love that we're describing is the love of I came from God. There's nothing but God. And it's the love of coming back to God. Coming back and reunifying into the source of where I came from. Coming back to my source. The process that Rabbi Akiva is going through here now, that process is the journey back to source. And what happens? I guess we'll have to save it. I know. But that'll be the end of the week finale. This is the journey of Rabbi Akiva coming back to source. That's why he's saying Shema, and Shema is the introductory pasuk for what? Ve'ahavta es Hashem Aleichem, of loving God. A person who says Shema properly and gets to that level of unity will be able to journey back to God. Okay, my friends? Looking forward to a wonderful, wonderful Shema tonight. We should be Zerach HaMamish to Mashiach Tzidkein B'mher V'Min. Amen. Kol Tov. Have a great day.